Jimmy Reece for Urban Inc. Welcome back to another episode. I am here today in Brentwood, New York, on Long Island, at a place now known as Oak Brush Plains Reserve. Once upon a time, though, this was a much different place. This is the stomping grounds from my youth. This is the site of Edgewood State Hospital, which was built in 1942. It was actually the property of the War Department. This was done during, of course, World War II. The hospital served as a TB unit, but also, especially during the war years, it served as a place for the soldiers who had survived and had traumatic experiences. It was a place for them to come. Back in 1946, the famous director John Huston made a documentary about this place that is now just an open field called Let There Be Light. It documented, and much of it was shot here at what was known during the war as Mason General Hospital, later transferred back to the state and called Edgewood State Hospital after the war. This was where the film was mostly shot by Mr. Huston, and there was some shots filmed at the open Pilgrim State, which is down the road from here. The properties are linked together, they always were. There are some shots in the film from the open Pilgrim State. This place, for me, my first time here was Halloween night 1984. With my buddies who had heard about this place. I had never seen this place, I had never heard about it. We're going to be using a lot of photographs, obviously, since the place is now gone. I was taken through the open Pilgrim State at night as a 17-year-old kid. And we walked down what we will be showing today, the old abandoned Comac Road. So we parked in the open psychiatric unit and we started coming down the abandoned road. It's very dark, it's Halloween night, and off in the distance I could see this mammoth shadow. The scariest thing I probably had ever seen. I'm only 17. This place was scary, and as we got closer it got bigger and it grew more ominous, and then all of a sudden we were in front of it. And it was at the time the biggest building on Long Island, which ironically is now held by Kings Park's Building 93, which is now the tallest building on Long Island. Edgewood, to me, especially before the roof burned off, was basically the Addams Family gone wild. This French chateau that featured on the roof was absolutely gorgeous. And I remember that when the roof was burned off, and we'll show you photos of that too, I knew then that the building's days were numbered because you could see this building from all over Long Island. It was mammoth, and I knew that the neighbors were going to make sure this thing came down. Ironically, we're almost at the 30th anniversary. I do believe it was August 16th, 1989 that they finally tore this great building down. And I remember that day too very well. I was a truck driver at the time and I was heading out east, and I always saw this building from the LIE. And I knew that day that it probably wouldn't be there on the way back home. And it was really surreal to drive back after all those years of seeing that building from the LIE, and it was gone. The building, it's kind of sad. They put a fortune into making this building. It was a mammoth structure, impressive architecture from a guy named William E. Haggard, who had also done Kings Park and the other asylums out here on Long Island. Building only lasted from 1942 to 1971. That's only 29 years before they shut it down completely. From 71 to 89, it was left at the hands of vandals and was at the mercy of the kids. I was never one of those kids who would come to a place like this and abuse it or vandalize it, but there were obviously plenty of kids who would. Anyway, it's clear that I love this place. Why don't we take a walk around and see what we can find, if there's any remnants left of what once stood here, a great, great city amongst what is now a nature preserve. It is amazing how big this building was and the buildings that adjoined it. You can see the enormity of the property here, and the grass seems to be cut to the original dimensions of where the buildings were. This basically feels about how big it was to be standing in front of Edgewood. All right, we've actually found a little bit of a remnant from the days when this was the fully functioning psychiatric hospital. It This place was a fully functioning city, just like Kings Park. It had its own everything, including its own rail line. We're going to see if we can find any rail spurs or anything else that reminds us that once upon a time, this place was a fully functioning city. As anybody who lives in this area of Comac, Brentwood, Northport, East Northport, this general area, we all know how busy Comac Road is. Major road. Well, this is what remains of old Comac Road and the road that we used as kids to come up from the open Pilgrim State. This runs all the way to the open Pilgrim State pretty much. We use this road to come up and infiltrate. We did not always, after that first time coming here, go through the open Pilgrim State. I guess that was just the special indoctrination, if you will, for my first time here. And we used to walk up one of these dirt bike trails, which would usually lead us pretty much into Building 102, which was the big main building of Edgewood State Hospital. I'd like to give a shout out to my partner, Jim Phillips, my fellow heavy metal brother over at Urban Inc. I got to make a music notation and observation about this place. Being here back in the 80s as a kid and being a metalhead during the days of Sabbath and Ozzy and Dio and Maiden and Priest, this place was just the perfect backdrop for our music and our time. So all you metalheads that grew up around here back in those days, I'm sure you can relate. This was our playground. Where's those confounded tunnels? Well, it's been quite a flashback coming back here, considering this was the stomping grounds of my youth. One last story for you, and I found this hilarious. I did find a picture, so hopefully we can share it with you on this episode. Back in the day during the 80s, the Knights of Columbus used to hold their annual festival right here on the grounds in front of the abandoned Edgewood State Hospital. Now, hopefully we have that photo for you. I will never forget that one time we went up there for the festival. Again, we're teenagers. Yet the entire time we're looking over our shoulder. We want to go in the building. Oh, let's go in the building. The security guards could tell we were probably up to no good, and they were trying to sniff us out. Now, the odd thing back in those days was I always felt safe the moment I got in the building. I didn't feel safe outside of the building. I felt safe in the building. How strange is that as far as security goes? I remember getting up to the top and waving down to the guy. The security would never come in there. Do the math. Would you? Until next time, Jimmy Reece, Urban Inc. Later. 4, 3,
the hands.
2, 1.
Brothers and sisters, how in the hell are we doing today? Hi-hat on assignment, downtown Denver, Colorado for Urban Inc. Behind me, you can see the Brown Palace Hotel. First started construction in 1890 and finished in 1892. The Brown Palace was once one of the highest spots of Denver's social activity. If you look up top, you can see little mosaics of different animals carved into the side of the building. Now, the really, really cool part about this hotel that I personally liked a lot was the guy, Henry Brown, was a socialite and a real estate guy. He wanted to go into the Windsor Hotel. And this is late 1800s, you know what I mean? Denver, we're talking, he was dressed up a little bit like cowboy. So the Windsor Hotel said, nah, you ain't allowed in here dressed like that. So Henry Brown said, fuck y'all. I'm gonna make a hotel that's bigger than yours, better than yours, that's more fucking glamorous than yours. Everything that yours is not, mine will be. And that's how it went down. For years, this was a spot. Celebrities, presidents have stayed here. And it's also home to a few urban legends and some haunting legends that we're going to check out. This hotel had generators to make its own electricity, an artesian well to supply its own water. You know, incinerated its own trash. It was self-sufficient. Didn't need nothing. And Henry Brown did it all on his own just to give the old Windsor big old finger and said, fuck you, buddy, I'm gonna do it my way. Pretty cool stuff. Situated on the corner of 17th and Broadway here in downtown Denver. It's a lovely day outside today. gonna go inside, talk a little bit more about the Brown Hotel, hopefully get access to some rooms. I'm gonna talk to the management, see what we can do about that, and then we'll talk about the hauntings and mysterious happenings. Yes. From the inside of the hotel. I'm gonna speak softly, try not to draw attention to myself. This is a swanky ass place. The hi-hat just don't quite fit in. Some of the VIP guests from the 20s. Warren G. Harding, Unsinkable Molly Brown, all kinds of people. This is white onyx and marble that was imported. This atrium was the first of its kind in the United States. Huge American flag up there, pretty cool. Cool. They still got the old school Westinghouse elevators. It's pretty badass. This is one of the presidential suites. I believe this is the Eisenhower suite. Really cool. They said that they don't allow any filming in any of the rooms, that you have to take a tour, they give the tours. So, I don't know how much I'm going to be able to get on this. But let's go down and check out some of the other presidential suites. Here's another one of the presidential suites in the corner. Here's the man with the plan right here, the man that did it all. Henry Brown. There's the architect rendering, 1890. And here's the last presidential suite on the 8th floor. Room 840. I'd love to be able to get inside and see those. Check this out. We're on the 9th floor of the Brown Hotel. This is so cool up here. And it's so windy. The hallways, because it's a triangular building, the hallways kind of jet in and out. They go every which way. We're gonna go down here and take a look at room 904. And the story behind room 904 is that at some point in time they was doing renovations on this section of the hotel. None of the wiring, none of the electrical was on, none of that. But for whatever reason, they began to receive telephone calls from room 904 for no reason at all until the construction was over. When the construction was over, the calls stopped. They say it was because there was furniture taken out of the room, maybe. Who knows? Some kind of connection, something was disturbed. But here we go. The cleaning lady told me that there was someone staying in the room. It doesn't feel like the Limp Mansion felt. This place feels way more active. It feels way more up to date. It's definitely old. You can definitely feel the age, but you can't feel the energy like you could in the Limp Mansion. 2 people were shot and killed in the Marble Bar in this hotel as well. The Queen of Romania, the Beatles. A lot of people have stayed here. Presidents Eisenhower, Taft, Harding, Truman, Reagan, Clinton.